Shalloners, welcome back and welcome members of the Bay Hive, because today, yes, we're talking about Queen Beyonce. Not just Beyonce, but her sister Solange, Jay-Z, that infamous Met Gala elevator incident a few years ago. Why? Because Met Gala 2019 is upon us. And there was never really a clear answer about what happened in that elevator when Solange flipped out on Bey and Jay. But I can tell you the truth, because you know that I do. You know I have my sources, and you know I have my ways. We're also going to look at what lessons we can take from that fiasco, namely how to deal with a toxic family member, friend, or even a parent. But first, just want to let you guys know that if you have a love question of your own or want to chit-chat privately about anything, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO, and click chat to get connected. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ShallonXO, and stick around for the end of the video because we've got a happy ending. Happy endings is where I give you a fabulous little hookup or sex tip, and today we're talking about PJs. I know, it's good. You guys are really gonna like it. So, I love the Met Gala. I love it because I can't go. And like, no New Yorker can go. Like, I know, I was a magazine editor for a very, very long time. I'm an author. I'm kind of a girl about town socialite. And I know like the who's who in this city, and like, nobody goes. Like, if you are not like an A-list celebrity, it's not happening. So it's really like this event that we're all just like pressing our faces to the window, or like, oh, like, just let me in. But so I really love it. And when I think of the Met Gala, I think of obviously the outfits, blah, blah, blah. But the Solange incident from a few years ago, right? Now, I can't embed the video because I don't have the rights to it. But if you guys remember, it was her in an elevator with Jay-Z and Beyonce, and Solange was losing her mind. And to this day, there has never really been an explanation for what went on there. And when this happened a few years ago, I was the editor at Star Magazine. And I mean, every single person in media and magazines and websites was doing the exact same thing that day. Watching it 500 times on their computers with everyone crowded around, trying to figure out what was going on. Can we read lips? What does this mean? Do you have a source? Who knows what? And if I do say so myself, I think I cracked it. I think I have the best theory. Why? Because I'm very well versed in body language. It's kind of like what I minored in. Like, I'm majored in persuasion, argumentation, psychology, and body language. I'm a very manipulative person when I want to be. I try to use my powers for good and not for evil. But it's a principle that 98% of communication is nonverbal. See what I mean? Yeah, go ahead. Versus, yeah, go ahead. Two very different meanings, right? And the only thing that changed was the body language, right? The tone of voice, but body language. So when we looked at that video, I said, you guys, 98% of communication is nonverbal. We have 98% of the information we need to figure out what's going on here. And the video went like this. They all got in the elevator. Solange was like flailing and rampaging, and Jay and Beyonce were doing the most telling thing of all. They were standing there with their arms kind of crossed, it like down in front of them, with their heads down, and they were non-reactive. And Solange was still just like wiling out. And that to me was the biggest thing, the non-reaction. Why? Because the big theory was, oh, Solange was getting on Jay-Z's case because he cheated on Beyonce. Think about it with your group of friends. If your best friend came flying in from stage left, screaming at your boyfriend about cheating, your reaction wouldn't be, I'm going to put my head down and cross my arms and just go like completely robot silent. You know, you would be like, no, wait, calm down. What I told her, like, you would have reactions. Your reaction might be completely different from the one I just did, but you would probably have one. Put yourself inside of that scenario and be like, yeah, I probably wouldn't just stand there. Nor would your boyfriend. He wouldn't just be like, "Rrr." And you guys certainly wouldn't do this simultaneously, you know? You would each have an individual reaction to the stimulus that was coming in, right? Jay and Beyonce didn't. Why? Because they've been here before. And this was my theory. I was like, this is not the first time Solange has done this. This isn't the second or the fifth or the 10th. This is probably the 500th time they have seen her lose it. And you know what you do when you see that? When this is just so, here we go again, you just shut down. You brace yourself and you let it hit you like a wave and wash over you and you just ride it out because you have learned the hard way. Yelling back doesn't work. Trying to calm her down doesn't work. Trying to leave doesn't work. You just have to like take it. That's interesting. When you look at it like that, this whole thing comes into a different sort of perspective, right? I've always heard a lot of like whispers about Solange, that like she has some thing, there's some monster under the bed with her that I've heard that she's an alcoholic. I've heard that she's like dabbling in drugs. I've heard that she's got a mental illness, but it's always been like, oh, Solange. Ugh. And the Beyonce Jay-Z sphere is very, very, very tightly controlled. Like it is a very much a closed circuit. There's not a lot of gossip that gets in or out of there. If you guys remember, I've done a video on Beyonce using one of the only first person stories that I have ever encountered. Watch it. It's really good. But like there's just not a lot of flow of information. And Jay-Z controls that flow very tightly. But like Solange recently canceled Coachella. And the excuse was so weird. It was like a week before. And it was something like, we can't set up the stage. Or it was something like that. It was like a production thing. Like, we can't get this stage equipment. And I was like, what? I've never heard that excuse before. Because it's not like it's the day of and the equipment broke and blah, blah, blah. It's like, whatever the problem was, it seems like it could have been fixed within Showtime, a week. And then I heard from a source that she was like in some rock bottom binge black hole, something. The thing, whatever the thing is, was rearing its ugly head. And they're like, she needs to go to rehab or be in some sort of treatment. So I'm like, that supports my Met Gala elevator theory, right? That she is volatile and yet predictable in her volatility. And if you think about it, we all kind of know someone like that, right? If you don't, it might be you. Because I was like, who's the person I know? I was like, oh, is it me? Ugh. But no, seriously, we probably all do know someone like that. And a lot of times it's someone very, very close to us, if not related to us. Why? Because people prey on elasticity. People like Solange. And okay, for the rest of this video, let's assume that she's not like mentally ill, because I don't want to dog on someone who's mentally ill. Let's just assume she's an asshole. Okay? She's just a drama queen and an asshole. And if she's not getting enough attention, she's going to pick a fight and, like she's got 2 shots of Jaeger in her and it's off to the races, right? Because we definitely all know someone like that. So let's assume Solange is just your run-of-the-mill drama queen asshole. People like that, like I said, they prey on elasticity. I've said this in videos before. People like that don't while out like that on their boss. They don't do it on a police officer. No. They do it on their sister, their best friend, their boyfriend. Why? Because they assume there's an elasticity there that they can get away with more. Your sister's not going to like cut you off. Your dad's not going to cut you out of the will. Your best friend probably isn't going to delete your number. You're probably not even going to get dumped. And this is what makes those people the worst, because they're predators at the end of the day. They're predators and they're users and they're abusive. It has taken me a very long time to do this, but I feel like I have finally cut those people out of my life. Unfortunately, like what's tended to replace it is, now that I've sort of like gotten into this advice space, it's like I have people using me for my advice. And I don't mean you guys. I mean like my friends. And I know you guys know a person like this, where it's like they just want to bitch and bitch and bitch and bitch, not listen to a word of what you're telling, not a word. Just victimize, victimize, victimize. And then just never ask how you are. Never ask what's going on in your life. Are you okay? Do you need some help or advice? They just want to take. That to me is a form of abuse. Like I don't appreciate that. You're wasting my time. You're using me for my resources, my mind, and you're giving nothing back. But let's pretend. Let's focus on someone who's a little bit more like Solange, this drama. Because what they're doing, they're not only preying on your elasticity, they don't differentiate between positive and negative communication, right? A lot of fuckboys are like this too. And I tell you guys this, it's like, do not try to draw a fuckboy into a dialogue. Don't try to tell him off. Get that closure. He doesn't give a shit if you're yelling at him or if you're fawning all over him and complimenting him. He does not see the difference, which is wild to me. I very much see a difference between someone who's insulting me and screaming at me versus someone who's like flattering me. Big difference. But a lot of people don't. If your need for attention and drama is so not only like deep, you need so much, but it's familiar, you are used to that dramatic, those wild swings. Yeah, you probably don't give a shit like what the communication's like, as long as someone cares enough to engage, right? I don't care what you have to say, just as long as you care enough to do so. Well, I don't like that. And people like Solange, it's not a like, oh, they care enough to engage. It's like, it's an opponent engaging. And that's why Jay and Beyonce had learned to just shut down. Because if they say like, calm down, it's okay. Even bigger. If they're like, shut the fuck up, Solange, even bigger. You know what I mean? Like they have learned that there's nothing they can say in that situation, good or bad, that is going to change the outcome. It is only going to be gasoline on the fire. So how do you deal with someone like this? I believe people like this are, in essence, emotional terrorists. They're holding you hostage with their behavior. Because, I mean, I've seen footage of hostages and they look remarkably like Jay and Beyonce. Just like, keep your head down, don't draw attention, get through it. Like, wait for it to be over. And Solange is terrorizing them, you know? And we know people like that in our life. So what are you supposed to do? Like I said, it can be tempting to be drawn into a situation where you're like, you are not acting like this anymore. You're not. I'm not dealing with this. You're not coming out to the bars and having a $1 margarita and flipping out on the bartender because you think he's cheating. You're not doing that. They're going to use that as a way to victimize themselves. Shallon's being so mean to me. Did you hear what she said to me? Right? And then they're going to try to get people on your side, and then it's an us versus them thing. And the problem gets so much bigger. One of my friends was an alcoholic, and the other two people in our group both had alcoholic parents. So guess who they felt real bad for? Our alcoholic friend, right? I am not familiar with alcoholism, like, thank God. It's not familiar to me. I have not a lot of empathy for it. You know, I mean, I do on like a whole, but like in a personal way, like, no, you're not going to act like that. You're not going to throw up in my shoes. And I'm going to be like, okay with it. It's like, she's got a problem. Like, well, now she's got another one, me. But the alcoholic girl oriented all of our friends against me. And I was suddenly the bad guy because I wasn't elastic enough, right? I wasn't tolerating this. I was saying, no, get this issue out of my life. And I ended up losing all three friends. Losing, though, is not actually the word I would choose. I was relieved of those three friends. We had a lot of good times together. I love them a lot. But it's like, that is too high a price to pay. Me tolerating behavior that is toxic and detrimental to my precious peace of mind is not worth just being able to say like, well, I have three friends. Like, who gives a shit? I'd rather be by myself and at peace than with friends who are actually degrading my soul, my time, my energy, and my efforts, right? And not even having the decency to thank me for tolerating, you know? There was never that moment of, hey, I know that I'm kind of a nightmare. Thanks for like cleaning me up, like getting me in the Uber and making sure I like got home in one piece. There was never that. There was never that. There's never that self-awareness there. And you know what? Even if there is, who cares? Martyrdom is a very slippery slope. And when we stay in a relationship of any kind that makes us feel like a martyr, it's like we just become more and more resentful. There's not some like martyr Oscars at the end of the year or at the end of our lives where you get like some prize for everything you've tolerated for absolutely no reason with no benefit. You just hemorrhage your energy. You just waste your one non-renewable resource, which is time. Time. If I could change anything about that dynamic with my alcoholic friend, I would take back all the fucking time I spent worrying about it. And worrying about like the dynamic with our friendship. Oh, they're mad at me. What am I good? I guess I'm going to have to do. I would have used that time to go out and find new friends. Because like I said, it can be tempting to get drawn into a dialogue, at a confrontation. And it's like, these are my boundaries and I'm putting them up. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that, but you really got to back it up. Talk is cheap. And people like that, people who prey on the elasticity, consciously or unconsciously, they know that. They're like, you know? And it's not even a conscious thought that they're thinking, but harmful things don't have to be conscious and they don't have to be intentional. Look at drunk driving, right? So while it's, good to lay down the law, you have to lay down the law with your behaviors. And with someone like Beyonce, or any of us who are dealing with a likely toxic family member, it's not quite that easy. You can't go out and make a new sister. You can't just go meet a new mom. You get one of these things, and again, these people know that. They prey on that elasticity. So you can put up boundaries though. Boundary setting is like the secret of life. You really have to, and it's hard and it's painful and everyone's going to have something to say about it. You don't need to explain your boundaries to anyone. No one. Do you need to explain why you lock your door to somebody? No, of course not. It's obvious. You don't want people getting in. You don't want people breaching your physical boundaries, right? If you were like, someone groped me on the subway, no one would be like, and what's the problem? Let him grope you. They'd be like, oh my God. People understand physical boundaries. They need to understand emotional and mental boundaries as well. And again, you don't have to explain them. I have whatever, it's not even important, but it's like, I have a friend who does not understand that I don't want to go to nightclubs anymore. I don't want to go to clubs. I don't want to stay out and go to one. I don't want to do that. And it's like, she'll know what buttons to press. It's like, oh, I guess you're old and lame now that you have a boyfriend. I'm like, first of all, my boyfriend's 25. So we're not old, lame people. I just simply don't want to do that. And I don't need to explain why. I don't want to. But I show her with my actions. When she suggests that, I say, LOL, no. How about the dinner at this place? I'm not like, I told you, I'm putting up boundaries, blah, 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 because it's annoying, and it looked kind of nutty. But I just simply don't allow that to continue. With the alcoholic friend, I finally put up boundaries. Sorry, I'm playing with this cup and it's loud. Stop that. With the alcoholic friend, it's like I stopped going out with him. And when I could see her at the bar, reaching that tipping point, she was her voice would get really high and she'd kind of stumble. You know what, guys? I'm so tired. I'm going to go. And I would leave before the mess hit the fan. You know what I mean? And then I would let my friends clean it up. And then the next morning, I wasn't feeling martyred and resentful. The girls weren't outwardly mad at me because I made a big stink about it. And why is she doing this? It was just hey, morning, what happened? Tell me all the things. I put up that boundary slowly and it became known that well, Shallon leaves when she gets messy. Shallon just doesn't like to stay at the bars super late. Oh, I do. I just don't like to stay at the bars at that time super late with a mess that I have to babysit. But yeah, what do you do if this is your family member? I think with friends who are, pushing your boundaries and toxic, sitting down with them isn't always super effective because they want to get drawn into something. But with family, I do think that that's probably healthier rather than just cutting them off or something like that. When you communicate about an issue, avoid using offensive phrases you're being like this and you're like this and blah, 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 blah. Instead say, when you do X, when you drink a whole bottle of wine before we go out and you end up screaming at the valet, it ruins my night. And it makes me not want to be around you because I want to engage with the sister that I love, the sister that we grew up making daisy chains and blah, blah, blah. But when you're like that, I can't connect with you. All I see is a problem. And I know that you're not. So I need you to sort out what's making you do that. And I can help you. I can help you on that journey. I can't do it for you. But if you're not willing to examine that, then I can't keep being a part of it because it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart to do this. If you phrase something like that and someone still reacts negatively to it, honestly, fuck them. I went through this with a friend. It's I wrote her these things that were this wonderful, gentle hug. And it was wah! And so I was all right, you know what? We're disengaging on a lot of fronts. I didn't write back. I didn't get mad. But there's just fewer invitations. There's fewer hangouts. There's more of a distance there. And you have the right to do that with your family as well. You don't need to cut them off. And again, if they want to do the thing that my alcoholic friends did, where it's they want to turn everyone against you, Uncle Kyle, Cousin Hannah, whatever, then, that's painful, but you have the right to repel borders, physical and emotional. And if people are importing painful things into your life, You have the right to say no to that. You honestly do. That doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person who's living your life for yourself. That is what God wants us to do. You know, if you feel this like responsibility for your family, you know what's interesting? I get my information and inspiration from a lot of random places. I was reading Money Magazine the other day, and it's targeted towards like baby boomers because they're the only ones with money. Thanks for ruining the economy, Dave. But one of the things, like the cover story, was parents who have like kids, you know, our age, who are addicted to opioids, and why cutting them off financially is like the key to them getting better. And this one family, I mean, and they gave like so many examples. They talked to so many people who were just, and these people were like normal, you know, just normal people, not the people you would be like, well, of course, like the whole family is broken. There's a crazy dynamics. It was like, you know, the kid got addicted to Oxy after a back injury, whatever, who cares? But this one family, they had spent $250,000. They had bought their son 8 cars, 8, because he just kept fucking wrecking them. They had put him in and out of rehab, I think 4 times. I mean, it was just nonstop hemorrhaging of money. They mortgaged their house. Like they blew through their retirement. And finally, the wife was like, we literally can't do this anymore. We're going to be homeless at 80. And he's still going to be a drug addict. So they cut him off. And they're like, look, we're not enabling this anymore. We love you and we're here for you emotionally, but like, get it together. And then they got a call like the day before they were supposed to leave for a vacation, because it always goes like this, that the son had like, I think he'd gotten a really bad infection from shooting up, and he was in the hospital. And they're like, you know, the old us would have dropped everything, ran to the hospital, you know, done whatever, brought him back to our house. You know what they did? They went on vacation. And the kid said, he's like, that was a wake-up call for me. That told me that like, oh shit, the gravy train has come to an end. They're sick of this. And he got better. He actually buckled down and paid attention in rehab. And now he's like clean and sober. And it's the toughest thing. Tough love is so hard. It's tougher on us. It's not tough on them. It's tough on us. You know, but like, how dare someone thinks that your parents or your sibling or your best friend or whatever just owes you all this elasticity, this bottomless pit of second chances. It's the worst kind of extravagance. And you don't. And it's painful, but you can get through it. I highly encourage you to see a therapist about stuff like this. If you can't, if you don't want to, if you can't afford to, don't laugh. Dr. Phil has written some incredible books on toxic family. I think the first one's called Self Matters. Read it. They're short, but they are so, so good. Like so many real life strategies for dealing with toxic family. And a bulk of it is devoted to like getting through the guilt you feel, putting some distance and putting some boundaries up. Bottom line is like, this is your one life to live. And giving it all, hemorrhaging it all to someone else, that's not what we're here for. What does that get you? Like I said, there's no martyr Olympics. There's no gold medal for suffering. But you know what? You know what we're going to do right now? Happy endings! Yes, that's right, guys. It's time for happy endings. Today I want to talk about BJs, something specific. But first, a word from our sponsor. Okay. Happy endings. Today I want to talk about blowjobs. Moms, stop watching now, moms of any kind. Mine, yours, anybody's. I want to talk about blowjobs and spitting and swallowing. I actually get a lot of questions about this. It's like, you know, I really don't want to swallow, but I know he wants me to. I would love to know when the last time a guy swallowed a shot glass full of bodily fluids from someone else. Can you tell me? Oh, wait, he's never done that? Oh, okay. So now I want to know why the fuck he gets to decide if you do. Look, I don't think like, ooh, bodies are gross. But I also think it's your choice whether or not you want to spit or swallow. And I can also tell you, point blank positive, no guy has stopped liking a girl because she didn't swallow. It has never happened in the history of oral sex. Never. He's also not like been a fuckboy and like known he was just banging a girl for a night. And then she swallowed. He's like, actually, I want to make her my girlfriend. It has never happened. It is irrelevant. whether or not you want to or not. It means nothing. It should contribute nothing to his feelings for you, right? It's not going to make him like you, and it's not going to make a dude fall out of love with you. If it is, he's a psychopath, like an actual psychopath. And in God, it's better to know now, right? It's better to just spend one blowjob rather than like 5 years with someone. So it's also important to note that like this isn't porn. You know, porn has ruined young men because they have grown up thinking that sex is supposed to look and sound and like feel a very specific way that like isn't realistic. It's like if you never saw anyone playing normal basketball, just like on the street or whatever, you only saw the NBA, and then you got a basketball and you're like, excuse me, why can I not dunk like LeBron? Like it's unrealistic. But that doesn't mean we have to rise to meet that. I've said this before. I am not someone sexual at Disneyland, okay? I don't exist just to like make some porn fantasy come to life for a guy. I am not a character in his play. At the end of the day, I don't like suck his dick and then go hang myself on the back of a door and plug myself in until he decides to play with me again. I am the star of my own play. You are the star of your play, okay? You don't have to live up to porn. Do you know that like the cum they use in porn for money shots, a lot of time it's fake? It's like some like weird concoction. I don't even know what it's made of. It's gross. And so if you want to make it porny though, I understand. It's like, you know, because guys, they like to look at you while you give a blowjob because of porn. Like they've looked at that POV thing, like POV porn forever. So it's like kind of less about how it feels. It's more about how it looks. And honestly, that makes it go faster. Like if you can like make it like look porny, he's gonna be like, whoa, she does a great job. Versus if you're down there for like 45 minutes, like getting a cramp in your neck. So if you want to make it look porny, but you don't want to swallow, which again, you don't need to. You don't need to. Because sometimes it goes up your nose. It smells like it tastes. Girl in my high school, that happened to her. Called her nut nose. Really fortunate. She's one of my good friends now and I love her. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. So if you want to make it look porny, do like the slobber dribble, you know? So okay. Picture like a water fountain, you know? Like sometimes you're like drinking a water fountain. I know it's like we don't usually drink at water fountains very often. And instead of just like swallowing it, you can kind of like let it dribble on your lips. You're like, this is nice. Like water. You basically do that. So the water comes out of the fountain, you know? And you kind of put your lips on the edge and it just kind of like lets it fall over. And so that it's still like on your person and you're like, ooh, yeah, you know? But it's still dribbling around. It's sloppy and it gets that kind of money shot thing, but you ain't cleaning it up with your mouth and with your esophagus. You don't have to do that, you know? So that's kind of a good compromise. I also don't know that girls need to be the one to clean up a guy after a blowjob. I think he can get up and do it his goddamn self. But if you want to be really nice, and sometimes I'll do this beforehand, like keep a warm washcloth. I don't know why I looked around like I literally have right next to me. Like I just have like my blowjob cloth ready here as I film a video. It's not going in that direction. But keep like a really warm, wet washcloth. And then it's like a nice, sexy way to clean up because shit, you don't want that stuff all over your sheets. My sheets are expensive. You break them, you bought them, honey. So remember, when it comes to blowjobs, it's not going to make or break a relationship. Don't swallow if you don't feel like it. It doesn't make any difference to guys. And if you want to make it porny, let it kind of dribble out, like slobber with your hand. Like make sure you look up at him so that he can see that it's on your face. And then it's like, all right, like you saw it, whatever, we're wiping it off. Okay, isn't that helpful? For more, click like and subscribe for new videos every Friday and every other day. And if you have a love question of your own, like I said, find me on the Instant Go app and click chat to get connected.